In the animal world, fights are fierce. There is no mercy, no compassion, and no empathy. Ruthless fights for survival have been going on for millions of years on this earth. Whether on land or underwater, there are animals everywhere that defend their territory or simply don't want to end up as a meal. At the end of the fight, however, there is always only one winner. In today's video, we show you the 10 most impressive animal fights that have ever taken place on this earth. Today, the whole world is a battlefield. In the African savanna, prides of lions fight clans of hyenas, alligators clash with snakes in swamps, spiders duel with centipedes even in your own garden, and huge colonies of ants fight the most brutal wars in the world. And these were just a few examples. As you can see, dangerous fights happen almost everywhere and have been going on for an extremely long time. When the first carnivorous animals evolved more than 500 million years ago, they came into conflict for the first time, and when the first prey animals developed defense mechanisms, the battle of the animals began. A long time has passed since then, and in these 500 to 600 million years there were so many fights. Let's start with the most famous animal fight ever, which is perhaps even better known than all of today's animal fights, and that is of course the fight between Tyrannosaurus Rex and Triceratops that took place 56 million years ago in North America. The enormous fame of this fight is probably due to the fact that these dinosaurs are the most famous dinosaurs at all, next to Brachiosaurus. There are scientists who are of the opinion that Triceratops could not fight at all, but the majority is in favor, and this for the simple reason that there is clear evidence for it. So you can see on fossils of Triceratops traces that can be traced back to horns of other Triceratops, so his horns were used in any case in the fight. On the other side was the most famous of all dinosaurs, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The bite of this dinosaur was extremely dangerous, because it had both the longest teeth and the highest biting force of all dinosaurs. Normally it hunted hadrosaurs, but if there were none, it could also mess with the Triceratops. Here, however, it had its problems, because normally it killed its prey with bites in the neck. The Triceratops, however, had a neck shield that protected it from that. Scientists have asked themselves several times, who would win this fight? But they always came to the same conclusion. The Triceratops wins. It was simply much better defended, it also had deadly weapons, and it also had an advantage in speed. At least if the theory that Triceratops could gallop is really true. All this makes it the favorite in this fight. More than 200 million years before this iconic fight, another duel took place. 300 million years ago, Arthropleura lived in North America and Europe. Next to Jacalopterus, it was the largest arthropod of all times, with a length of 2.5 meters. And even though this giant millipede looks like a brain-eating alien, it was a herbivore. Its powerful jaws were nevertheless very strong weapons, and it was also very heavily armored. For the last 300 million years, invertebrates had the clear dominance over vertebrates. At this time, however, vertebrates prevailed for the first time. Especially the amphibians were among the largest and strongest animals in the world. Fights between the amphibians and Arthropleura would certainly be quite exciting. In that case, we would bet on the Arthropleura, especially since its armor could protect it very well. Some time later, however, the dominance of the mammals began, which continues until today. Mammals make up less than 1% of all species. In the past, however, many other mammals fought duels. In the Miocene, 15 million years ago, one of the most dangerous was Daeodon. This was the largest representative of the Entelodontidae. Its huge mouth was certainly quite helpful in a fight. With a weight of 600 to 1,000 kilograms, this animal was also much larger than today's bears. Daeodon was an active hunter, but could also steal the prey from other animals. Later, however, an opponent appeared that was too dangerous even for Daeodon. The ambiguous dog. Ambiguous dogs had the claws of bears, the agility of cats and the mouth of dogs. There were smaller species of ambiguous dog that were the size of foxes, but the largest species was Amphibian. With 400 to 600 kilograms, it even outshone polar bears, but it was still a good deal smaller than Daeodon. In a 1 versus 1 fight, it probably would have drawn the short straw. However, he always came in 2s or 3s. Even a large Daeodon would have bad cards against him. A fight between these two animals would certainly be a spectacle. Today, North Africa is a very dry area full of deserts. 100 million years ago, however, it was a wet swamp. At that time, one of the most dangerous animals of all times lived here, namely the giant crocodile Sarcosuchus. With a length of 12 meters and a weight of 8 tons, it surpassed most predatory dinosaurs. Probably, Sarcosuchus even hunted dinosaurs. But it shared its habitat with one of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs ever, Charcharodontosaurus. At the time, it was probably the strongest land predator in the world, along with its relative, Giganotosaurus. With a length of 13.5 meters, a height of 5 meters and a weight of 8 tons, it was one of the largest land predators of all time, surpassing even Tyrannosaurus Rex. Its knife-like teeth were serrated like those of sharks. While Charcharodontosaurus cut through flesh with its teeth, those of Sarcosuchus were made to crush bones and hold prey, and it also had enormous biting strength, even stronger than that of Tyrannosaurus Rex. Both animals fed on the same prey, and for this reason they probably often came into conflict, and we don't even have to mention that such a fight would of course be extremely exciting. In the center of Europe there were once also fierce primeval duels. The cave bear was an animal that would make all its modern relatives look tiny. Males could weigh 600 kilograms and particularly large specimens could weigh up to a ton. These animals retreated into caves during the winter, which is also where most fossils have been found. One could assume that we have a deadly hunter here, but the cave bear was a herbivore. It could defend itself well with its claws and teeth, however. It shared its life armor with one of the most dangerous hunters, the Eurasian cave lion. Cave lions sometimes grew even larger than tigers. They reached a length of 2.5 meters and a weight of 340 kilograms. Fossils of cave bears and cave lions have been found in the same caves, and there are even traces of a fight between the two animals. The cave bear, because of its size, would probably have won a real fight in the end, but with a surprise attack, the lion could have won as well. After all, this is also the specialty of cats. But the cave bear was not the biggest bear of all times. This was the short-faced bear. Normal specimens of the short-faced bear were already larger than the very largest cave bears. At over a ton, this was the largest carnivorous land mammal of all time. Standing on its hind legs, this bear was 4 meters tall and it had a much higher biting force than bears today. Unlike the cave bear, the short-sighted bear was an active hunter and it preyed on various animals, but there were also very defensible prey in its environment. For example, Bison latifrons, one of the largest cattle of all times. With a length of 5 meters, a height of 2.5 meters and a weight of 2 tons, this animal is exactly between today's bisons and large rhinos in terms of size. In an open fight, it would not be easy for the bear to cope with the bison. The huge horns also posed a certain danger, although they were not optimally placed to be useful in a fight because of their width. What would be the bison's undoing, however, is its lack of intelligence. The American bison is known for its stupidity and is also unaware of its own strength, which is why several animals also flee from wolves, for example, although they could actually defeat them together. Bears still attack bison today, taking them by surprise from behind and putting them in a dominant position from the start. However, even when attacked, bison sometimes don't fight back at all. From this we can conclude that the short-faced bear has won such fights much more often. Even in the water there were often fierce fights. Often sharks were involved in them. One of the biggest sharks of all times was Cretaxorhina or Ginsu shark. The Ginsu shark reached a length of 8 meters and a weight of 5 tons. In the Cretaceous period it was one of the most dangerous predators at all, and even big plesiosaurs were hunted by this mega shark. But sometimes it also hunted more dangerous predators. Among them was, for example, the Tylosaurus, which was also a hunter. This mosasaur was quite agile because of its snake-like body, and with 14 meters length and 8 tons weight it was also a top predator. A fight between the two animals would certainly be quite close and also exciting. But the bites of the two are very different from each other, because while the teeth of the Ginsu shark are suitable for cutting through meat, those of the Tylosaurus were better suited for crushing. And it is this difference that could make this fight so interesting. One of the most famous periods of time that ever existed is probably the Pleistocene or Ice Age. 40,000 years ago Australia was extremely hot, just like today, so it was the perfect area for reptiles. Megalania was the largest lizard of all time. This varan not only had an impressive bite but also a poison. In the past it was thought that varans carried extremely dangerous bacteria in their mouths. But it has been discovered that they actually have venom glands. With a length of 7 meters and a weight of over a ton, Megalania was bigger than a bar crocodile and the absolute top predator of Australia. But there were also other dangerous animals in its environment. For example, Quintana, a land-dwelling crocodile. One of Megalania's deadliest rivals was an animal called Thylacolio Carnifex, better known as the pouched lion. Although it strongly resembles cats, it was more closely related to wombats or koalas. It also had a different bite and a higher biting force than real cats. Thylacolio would lie in wait for its prey on trees, then pounce on it and finish it off with bites to the neck. In terms of size, it was comparable to a jaguar. However, this put it far behind Megalania. Even if he had attacked Megalania from above, he would probably lose. Megalania had another weapon besides her mouth, and that was her tail, which she could use as a whip. With it, she could simply push the Thylacolio off her back, and then a single bite would be enough to end the fight, which is why Megalania would be the clear favorite in this fight. Let's go into the water again. Of course, the biggest shark of all times must not be missing. Etotus Megalodon, with a length of 15 meters and a weight of 30 tons, was bigger than all other sharks that have ever existed. Its teeth were as big as a human hand, and for years it held the title for the strongest biting force of all time. Until he recently had to give it up to Pliosaurus. Megalodon liked to hunt huge whales. Baleen whales couldn't defend themselves very well either. But as we know, there are also toothed whales, and today the strongest whale by far is the sperm whale. In a 1 versus 1 fight, there wouldn't be a more worthy opponent for this animal. Sperm whales are usually quite peaceful, but they have extinct relatives that ruled the oceans at the time of Megalodon. The most dangerous of them all was probably Brygmophyseter, known as the biting sperm whale. With a length of 7 meters, this whale seems less big, but it was probably still much more dangerous than Megalodon. It could have been Jamaled, because the biting sperm whale lived in the group. Even a large Megalodon would probably have no chance at all against a group of biting sperm whales. The biting sperm whale was the absolute top of the food chain at that time, and it probably even hunted Megalodon. Such a fight would probably be extremely exciting, and I wonder how many of these whales it would take to defeat a single Megalodon. A few million years after the extinction of the dinosaurs, another creature evolved in South America. The Titanoboa. With a length of 13 meters and a weight of 1.1 tons, it is considered the largest snake of all times. It sometimes hunted large crocodiles that grow to the same size as today's black caiman, the natural enemy of the anaconda. But Titanoboa had to be afraid of some animals. One of the most dangerous animals around Titanoboa was called Carbonemys and was the biggest land turtle of all times. With a weight of also 1.1 tons, Carbonemys was even bigger than saltwater crocodiles. The turtle was an active hunter and surprisingly could even run quite fast, was also a good swimmer and had a high biting force. He also hunted crocodiles, but also many other animals were frightened by this turtle. What separated Carbonemys from the Titanoboa was his armor, which could protect him perfectly. Choking snakes like the Titanoboa had no way to break through a turtle's armor, because while crocodiles only have armor on their backs, turtles have armor all over their bodies, which leaves very little room for a snake. For this reason, a choking snake can't choke here, and it doesn't have any other weapons, which is why the Carbonemys clearly wins here. In the beginning, we probably had the most iconic primeval fight between the Tyrannosaurus and the Triceratops. But this might be the second most iconic primeval fight, which is probably again due to the fact that the opponents in this fight belong to the most famous animals of all times. In the Jurassic period 150 million years ago, the famous Stegosaurus was common all over the world. It probably used the spines on its tail in the fight, but this is not yet 100% clear. With a weight of 5.3 to 7 tons, it was larger than all land animals living today. After the Tyrannosaurus, his opponent in this fight was probably the best-known carnivorous dinosaur. We are talking about the Allosaurus here. This dinosaur was one of the largest predators in its time. Its extremely sharp teeth would be extremely helpful in a fight with the Stegosaurus. But we ourselves see the Stegosaurus a bit further ahead, at least when it could use its spines in a fight. At the beginning, it was said that the mentioned fights started 500 million years ago, but what kind of fights were they? One of the most dominant predators in the Cambrian 510 million years ago was the 5.7 centimeter long Opabinia regalis. With its 5 eyes, it had a perfect 360-degree all-around view. Its weapon was a proboscis with a kind of gripper at the end. Opabinia was probably also an agile swimmer, which was one of the first predators in the oceans of this world. At the same time, it was one of the first prey animals with a defense mechanism. At 5.5 centimeters, Hallucigenia was similar in size to Opabinia. It had pointed spines on its back that protected it very well. Furthermore, Hallucigenia was also one of the first animals to have a mouth with sharp teeth. Who would win in this fight is not so easy to say. Who do you think would win? Let us know. Would you have thought that these battles really took place on our Earth? The thought is quite impressive. We really hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.